Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining back on Masculinity Uncovered. I am your host, Jonathan. Man, it's been a while since I've said that, but welcome. Topic of today money. Why is it such a huge predictor of future marriage success or relationship for that matter? I mean, we tend to classify women as gold diggers if they pursue money, but the reality is women, they seek stability financially, socially, etc. Right? For men, the days of old, they used to be able to afford, simple job, simple life. Things were pretty stable. Now, with the invention of the internet, social media, and as some people may call it, the hypergamy of social media, where they can just get together with any man around the world. Now the distortion in which they kind of date each other is completely lopsided. And there's studies now saying over half of women by 2030 will be single and childless. I mean, if all women are pursuing the exact same men, you're going to get that, right? But the real thing that I want to talk about is men in particular and what they should do for the future. Now, that's a tricky one because we are entering in a almost collapsed economy. The US dollar can either sustain itself if they do this right, or it will completely collapse and it'll bring in another Great Depression. People underestimate, for example, the amount of debt and how it's going to affect the future payments of it. The next thing you got to think about, for example, is the average income cannot sustain the average life. Meaning you can't really buy a house anymore because the interest rates, insurance will just kill you essentially, right? Just from all fronts, it just seems that nothing is possible anymore. But there might be some hope. I do think that men are going to get creative. I think men are becoming smarter because they're becoming desperate. That sounds kind of crazy, but hear me out. Think about it this way. Normally, our greatest inventions come out of desperation because we are in a state of constant stress. So we gotta figure things out, but we don't know how. So we kind of test, compare, contrast different methods, right? And it makes me wonder, if the new economy relies on very low salaries, men will have to be creative on how to create jobs with high-paying salaries, maybe even invent jobs that never existed before, industries, complete renewal of anything that we think of as work, right? Another thought process that I was thinking of was the way we do blue-collar jobs. As a general, when you say blue collar, you're talking about the trades, right? The plumbers, the electricians, etc. But what's interesting about the past until today is there was a specialized amount of people who did those things, right? And the rest of the people didn't really know how to do things. But I do believe that with the coming of the times, people will be their own tradesmen, especially men, obviously. They'll be their own electricians, plumbers, which will lead to a lot of non-professional tradesmen. Yes, there'll still be licensed electricians, licensed bonded, etc. But my point with this is that men will be extremely creative in, if something breaks, I got to fix it, right? The mentality is, I'm poor, I didn't have people to call to. And then that goes into other sectors of life, right? A lot of the jobs that we currently hold today might completely disappear. I mean, people talk about the replacement of AI for a lot of these admin jobs, for example, right? A lot of coding jobs, etc. I mean, we go on in what AI could or could not replace, but one thing that I actually have hope for is it makes men extremely creative in finding ways on how to create money, right? Because if I'm very honest with you, everything depends on how many resources the men can acquire. It can be the most crazy ideology within one man's mind when trying to figure out how to make money. It could drive some men nuts because they don't have a way out, so they become anxious, depressed, etc. So I genuinely think that there is something that is going to happen soon. I am genuinely hoping, even if I said that word already, before the end of Trump, because we don't know how the next administration is going to be. We don't know how bad it's going to be next administration. We don't know how the taxes, the tariffs, value of the dollar is going to be. It could be the most disastrous introduction to economy in the next cycle, right? Or it could be very, very mellow and things actually become better. I do believe that it's a 50-50, sure. But I mean, when comparing and contrasting everything, cost of inflation, the cost of the interest rate on our national debt, and then our personally speaking, health insurance, right? Joke. But all kinds of insurance, expensive. People might not even be able to afford insurance anymore, right? So the insurance industry might collapse because people just can't afford it. And the few people that do have insurance, sky high, which will make them quit insurance in the first place. And then maybe it's going to be cash only business in the sense of, like, for example, doctors get paid by their service, not by insurance. I mean, this could be literally the biggest revolution in economic diversity, so to speak, right? A lot of industries will be disrupted, and I don't think we're truly ready for it because people would panic if they really understood how bad it's going to be. But they aren't yet. So I really wonder how it's going to be soon. Anyway, just some thoughts. Thanks for tuning in. If you feel like subscribing, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting me on this journey. I am a nobody, but just giving my opinions. Thank you for your time. Bye now.